Hello and welcome to Supposedly Fun. I'm Greg. Today's very exciting because not only is this my first book review video, so if it's a little weird, it's a little wonky, please bear with me. Hopefully it'll get better. Today's also exciting because we're going to be talking about gay YA romance, which is a genre that did not even exist when I was in the YA age bracket, and I'm really happy that it does exist now. We're going to talk about it with What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. Now, I'm not familiar with Adam Silvera, but I do know Becky Albertalli, and she may be familiar to you because she wrote Simon versus the Homo Sapien Agenda, which was turned into the movie Love, Simon earlier this year. I own this book, but I have not read it yet. I did see the movie, and the movie was cute. So, now, today we're talking about What If It's Us, which, as I mentioned, is a love story, and in it you have Arthur, this guy right here, who is kind of a dreamer. He believes in fate and the universe and all that stuff. He is in New York City for the summer. He lives in Georgia usually. He's interning in his mother's law firm. And he's a little bored, he's a little lonely, he texts his friends, but he doesn't really have anybody to talk to. And then you have Ben, who is kind of the opposite. He's a little more jaded, more cynical. He actually lives in New York City, and he's very much a New York City type. He has been in a serious relationship, which has just ended, and they meet cute in the post office because Ben is mailing back his ex-boyfriend's belongings. He doesn't want to see him to deal with the drama of that moment, so he's going to mail them. And they run into each other, and it's really cute. But there's a flash mob, and they get separated. There is a question from there about whether or not the universe is going to put them together or not. You know, is this fate? Is it meant to be? Will they make it work? Which, of course, means that they do meet up again, because what else is going to justify this length? And then it's whether or not they can figure out how their love will work. One of the things that's really interesting about this book is that Ben and Arthur are in very different places of the coming out process. Ben has been out. As I said, he was in a serious relationship, so he's kind of been there and he's been figuring it out. The problem is that he's been burned. Arthur is much more in the Simon phase of things where he's figuring things out. He's only recently come out to his parents and to his friends, and he has a friend back home who he's not so sure is supporting it, is okay with it, or not. He's worried that his life has changed in ways that he has no control over, and he doesn't know how it's all going to work out. And now he's in New York City for the summer, so he's even in a new environment, and he's just in flux. Along the way, there's some relationship drama with Arthur's parents. His father has been unemployed, so that's creating tension between them, which is interesting because Ben's relationship ended because his ex could not handle the divorce and separation of his parents. So there's a push and a pull there that will be addressed as the book goes. I don't want to spoil anything. There's also a fun relationship between Ben and his best friend Dylan. Dylan is straight, Ben is gay. They're still figuring out the dynamic of their relationship and how it's changed since Ben came out, but they're handling it a lot more smoothly than any of Arthur's friends. And it's fun to see the back and forth between them. They're like brothers, and it's a fun dynamic. What If It's Us is structured like a romantic comedy. So if that's your thing, if you're into it, this will be a good book for you. If you're in the young adult age bracket that this is targeted toward, you'll probably love it. I think I would have loved it if I had been a gay teenager reading about gay boys falling in love, because it's just nice to see yourself represented in these common stories. Part of the reason I had a hard time coming out as a teenager was that I didn't think love was ever going to happen for me if I came out. So things like this would have been really helpful for me. Here's the thing. I had a little bit of trouble with it because it's very cheesy. It's a little bit like eating a very sugary dessert and feeling guilty afterward. A lot of the setups just feel kind of ham-handed. Is it a bad book? No. It's a good book, actually. But that cheesy part really took me out of it more than once, and that it made it hard for me to get into it. For example, Ben is in a summer school class with his ex-boyfriend, and the very first class they're in explodes in this way that just does not feel like... It's kind of like, why is this happening? And I couldn't reconcile that part of the book for myself. Maybe you will, and if you can, that's great. Here's what I'm going to say. If you are a fan of romantic comedies, check it out. If you are a romantic who's a young adult, or even a romantic who's an adult, check it out. If you're kind of a hard-hearted cynic like I've been turned into as I grew up, maybe give it a pass. Another thing I'll say is that if you're looking for something to read on a vacation or over a holiday, something like that, this would actually be a really great book for that, because you can get through it quickly. It's kind of fun. So it's good under those circumstances as well. If I've scared you off of this book, or even if you like this book and are just looking for something else, I have 2 book recommendations for you. The first is If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Russo, which is also a teen romance that features a trans character. Like both of these, it kind of features a utopia. It's like a best case scenario world for a trans character, which can take you out of it a little bit, but it's actually, in the current political climate, it's nice to see like a win, as much as you can call it a win, for a trans character. And it's a really interesting story. There's an interesting progression. It's like a complicated story because it's about a trans girl who falls in love with a football player. And it's really interesting. It's, like I said, it's complicated, but it's very well told. So that's my first recommendation. My second recommendation is called Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alire Sens. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I hope I am. It's a beautiful book. It's probably one of my favorites. It's about Aristotle and Dante. They are teenagers. And like If I Was Your Girl, it's much more complicated. They are complex characters, navigating their identity issues and reconciling their own relationship. And it's really beautifully done. I don't think I actually cried, but I came a little bit close because the characters reminded me of people that I knew, and that's always a really good thing. So I would definitely recommend that one. So that's it for right now. Have you read What If It's Us? What did you think? Let me know. If you've read other things by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera, I would love to hear about that as well. If you have other recommendations or you think I'm nuts for thinking this is cheesy, let me know. Especially if you have recommendations. I love recommendations. So let me know. And stay tuned for more. Thank you.